My guest today is Graeme Whifler, a photographer, screenwriter, and director best known for his collaborations with The Residents and other Ralph record artists in the 1970s and 80s, like MX-80 Sound, Tuxedomoon, and Renaldo and the Loaf. Whifler stopped working with Ralph Records in 1982, but continued to work in music videos and television throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, including working with Devo, 45 Grave, The 3 O'Clock, Sparks, Oingo Boingo, and even the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Whifler has also directed 3 feature-length films, Ancient Prophecies 3, New Visions of the Future, and Neighborhood Watch. And he is also the screenwriter for Dr. Giggles. And it gives me great pleasure to welcome the Revolutions Per Movie, Graeme Whifler. Hi, Graeme.
Hey, Chris. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm kind of freaking out because when I was in 7th grade, something called Night Flight just showed up on cable. And there used to be a San Francisco company that would do stuff for Night Flight called Video West. And they'd make little mini docs called Takeoff. And I'm watching it. And then all of a sudden, I see a segment on you and the films of Ralph Records. And one of the things you say is, people see something after they see our videos. They feel sick. And I was like, I'm listening. You got my attention. And then you take the camera that you're showing what you film it on, and you start smashing it against the table. And I'm like, I'm in. And then they're showing, bits and pieces of Snakefinger and Tuxedomoon and Renaldo and Loaf. And my head exploded because up to that point I was a Devo kid, right? And for me to find another visual art band at 13 years old was pivotal. And so I remember Ralph had a VHS thing that was like Ralph Records Volume 1. I sent away from it so I could see all of your work. So that is my introduction to you and the world of Ralph Records. What was your life leading up to getting into that world in the early 70s with The Residents and the Ralph Records world?
Well, I'd gone to film school, dropped out, and became a house painter.
Okay.
And an old high school buddy showed up one day at my apartment, and he needed a place to hide out. And he said, there are these guys that live in a warehouse, and I think you like them. Well, let me introduce you. So we went over to this warehouse, and I met these guys, and they all had a accent. They're from Louisiana. What I didn't know is why my friend knew these guys or was going over to the warehouse. He had a pound of coke, and he was stashing it at their warehouse.
Oh, wow.
And he'd kind of burned the people he bought it from, and he owed a lot of money, and he was using it himself. So he was cutting into his principal, and his world was crashing.
Sure.
But he kept bringing me back over to the warehouse. I didn't know why, anyway, got to meet these guys, and one thing led to another, and ended up starting doing films for them.
Had they released Meet the Residents and Third Reich and Roll yet, or were they still in a Genesis period?
Yeah, a fetal period, Genesis period. Yeah. They hadn't released any music when I met them. They were just thinking about it, and
amazing.
They didn't know.
Yeah, because it's a really chicken egg with the Residents' early work, because concurrent to them making music, you're working with them on Vileness Fats, which is a long-form film that they're going to make. Was that shot on like reel-to-reel half-inch, or?
It was, and what I did is I knew it wasn't going to work because it was black and white and terrible quality. So I just sat there with a camera and got 35 millimeter color slides of it all. So that at least exists in recorded form.
When I had Homer Flynn on, who works with the Residents, he said they blew it up, the black and white video footage, and then they were like, and it looked like shit. And so we got really disappointed that we, this thing that looks so cool on a small screen, they're like, uh-oh. Because they wanted to be theatrical, I believe.
Yeah. Well, at that point, the only way you could do anything was on film.
Right.
video. That's why I was beating that. In the interview you saw me where I had a camera and I was driving a nail. I was making fun of because people at that point were using video cameras to make rock video.
Wow.
And even though they were better than the reel to reel, they weren't like film.
Right. No, definitely. And the footage that has existed from Vileness Fats, I mean, obviously the art direction is immense.
Yeah.
Atomic sharpening cards and weird prosceniums, and tunnels and costume design. And it's just so elaborate. So how long were you all working on this before you were like, this doesn't seem to have an end?
I think a couple of years.
Wow.
Because see, the deal is they were all working at a hospital,
Okay.
and it was a commune. They're all working at the hospital, and they pooled their money together, and so they worked on Vileness Fats at night and on the weekends. And over a span of a couple of months, they'd have sets built for another scene.
Right.
And
Wow.
invite friends over to act in it. And so it was a very long, drawn out process.
Oh no, youth is amazing. Where you just have the stamina to just be like, all right, all night, we're going to just sweat and work on this endlessly.
Yeah.
No sleep.
Yeah.
And just like, oh, this is exciting. We're making a movie.
Yeah.
Were you involved with the Third Reich and Roll film as well?
No, I was not involved with that one.
Okay.
That was done right around the time I first met them.
Okay.
And they did that one weekend. I think probably when they had the Vileness Fats, one of the sets up.
Okay. So Hello Skinny then was your first piece with them?
A first release piece with them, yeah.
Okay. And what were you doing between Vileness Fats and doing that film?
Painting houses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with your eye
hanging out.
Right.
Hanging out at a dyke bar in my neighborhood. That's where they shot that interview. I'd been 86th out of there. And so I figured, well, if I could get them on camera, their bar on camera, it'd be such good publicity that they'd bring me back in with open arms, and they did. So
that's great.
Yeah. So I was painting houses and doing all sorts of stuff. But the actual first paid project I did for them was redoing the exterior of 444 Grove Street.
Oh, amazing.
Which was the next building they got after they were. Vileness Fat was done in Sycamore Street, 30 Sycamore.
Right.
And then they moved to 444 Grove Street. And so I redid the outside for them.
Yeah, it's such a strange period because when I was talking to Homer Flynn, he's just talking about having closets full of the first three records. They couldn't move it. They were looking at opening a movie theater that would show cult films. And then they were getting resistance from the neighborhood. In the meantime, Enemy writes 5-star reviews of these first three records. And he's like, they start flying out the door. And then it's like Ralph kind of becomes like a real independent label with bands, and I don't know what their financial situation was like, but the films that you made look so high. They just look so well made, so professional, and so much work. I just don't know, and I'm assuming they weren't large budgets.
They were very small budgets, but I did have the wonderful good fortune to be put on salary. I was probably making, I don't know, I was making good money. I was making almost $1,000 a month.
Oh, that's great! Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And they had a stage or studio space next door, so I had plenty of time to build everything and do everything, which I never had again. I mean, it was a wonderful, because there's a thing called a boppy, which is pygmies have a play space for their children called the boppy, and it was like a boppy for me.
Oh, I bet.
The stage.
Because these sets that you're building, for instance, at the end of Hello Skinny, when it goes into color, there's real depth and scale to what's being built in this white room with the black legs spinning around and the red tub. Often at this point, you'd see films that were being made by artists, and it was just like you could tell they were pushed against the back of a wall. That stood out for me, even as a kid. the scale of what you were making?
Took a lot of care and did it like a movie. I mean, it was all film and it was all meticulously done. Old school. It was old school.
So, for instance, making Hello Skinny, which for a large part of it is black and white photo collage, but also there's some weird moments like when there's kind of like a half body drawn with like stuff coming out of its torso. And then it cuts to this alley and it looks like somebody's hosing something down in slow motion as cars drive by. That to me is like one of the top 10 visual moments of my life. That little alleyway thing after it cuts to him with a still picture of him with a hose doing the body that's dismembered. I still can't figure out what I'm looking at. It's so haunting. I love it.
Well, that's what, good horror, you shouldn't really know.
Yes.
It should all be in your head. Your head should create the picture that really scares you.
Right. And I know you liked working with unknowns a lot, and this was Bridget Terrace. Is that the person's
Bridget
name?
Terrace. Found Bridget Terrace. Actually, I'd gotten Bridget. There was another project before Hello Skinny that got shot a couple of days worth, and then that got canned. And the film at the end where you see Bridget in the that was it was originally the idea for the first initial thing was Bridget Terrace wakes up on a spaceship and everybody has committed suicide, a la Jim Jones in Jonestown. And the Jonestown, that purple thing that he pulls the present out of, that's the Kool-Aid from Jonestown.
Oh my God. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And you can see, if you look at it, you can see the little pill bottles and syringes on the little wooden plank that leads up to the tank of the purple Kool-Aid. And that was all taken right from the photos from Jonestown.
Wow. That's amazing. Were like pornographics who worked for the residents like doing the art, or were you doing it hand in hand, or how was that done?
Did it all myself.
Wow, Graeme, it is so in their lexicon. Amazing. I had no idea.
Yeah, well, we just clicked. Basically, what was going on, we were outsider artists, but disciplined and successful and repeatable outsider artists.
Right.
So anyway, so Bridget Terrace. I got to tell you about Bridget Terrace.
Yes.
I found Bridget Terrace through the dyke bar that I frequented in my neighborhood. I had approached him and said, "Would you like to be a star? Would you like to be a movie star?" And he just lit up and go, "Of course, of course."
Yes.
I have an audition tape of him auditioning. And,
oh my God.
And we shot for a couple of days and then it got shut down. And so I came back to him in a couple of months because I wanted to keep that footage and then find a way to do something else with it. So it was going to be black and white. And so I said, "Bridget, we're back on." And he said, "Oh, I'm going home to my mom's house in New York tomorrow. I want to go live with my mommy." And so I got Bridget into the studio and just shot the hell out of his face. Just got as many shots as I could of his face. And then followed him down to the Greyhound bus station with my camera, just shooting and shooting and shooting. Had him dressed like Skinny. And there are shots from the old San Francisco Greyhound bus station in there.
Oh, it's amazing.
And then he left.
Wow.
He left. And so my other pal from the dyke bar, Bill Owen, I talked him into being a stand-in for Bridget. And it was all photo montage. So we went down to the industrial parts of, which used to be industrial. Now it's a ballpark.
Right.
But the old and decaying industrial parts of San Francisco, and just shot at night. And it's basically a photo montage. But it brought a film camera along for a couple of shots, like the hosing down of the torso,
Right.
and those were actual chitlins
Yeah.
that I had thawed and dressed in a auto wash stand.
Wow. So I have a question about how you do some of the stuff in that film. So if you have a photograph and you're moving into, let's say, a bunch of skinnies in the water with their faces on, how did you get that fluid camera movement?
Oh no! I had a Arri S camera, and I set it up in the office and got had nice big giant photographs made. They're collages. Some of the photos actually came from these two old Russian ladies that had a store in San Francisco. They're really old, and they were selling old communist propaganda. So they had all these black and white photos from Stalin's time showing how great Russia was.
Right.
So if you look at those, you'll see some Soviet.
Oh, this is all coming together. It's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. So I had gone to their shop and I thought about it because I looked at they had a stack of photos, beautiful photos. So that's where I'm going to go to get my photos. So I got the photos there and I just stuck them up on a wall. I collaged them, stuck them on the wall, and took my Arri S and just shot them. I had a zoom, electronic zoom, J4, I think.
Okay, that's how it works. Okay, I had no idea. It's just so fluid, and the reveals, like where it pulls out, and then it's like the face is like built like it looks. Some of it's 3-dimensional, some of it's flat. Just incredible, Graeme.
Well, that's careful shooting of the stills and editing.
Yeah, so that was my first glimpse at the residence, and I was like, yeah, I was 13 and I was hooked. But so much of it came from these films to me. And so since you were on salary, was this kind of the era where they're starting to be like, hey, would you, we'd like you to work with Tuxedomoon and MX80 Sound and stuff like that?
Oh, I was the Ralph video guy. So when they had a band, well, what song are we going to use to do it? And I had sometimes a say in that, listen to the music, like I did with all the videos I did after that. You just listen to music and go, this one would make a good blah, 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 and just proceed.
Yeah, the MX80 Sound one, Why Are We Here? Which it's really hard to find online. I did find it, because I have it on the VHS tape.
Oh, I'll send you a restored version.
Oh, amazing!
It looks really good. Oh, yeah,
a
bunch of those bunch of the original camera negative has been rescanned, and it looks like it was shot yesterday.
Well, the other thing I loved about getting this VHS tape that had all of your films on it, the majority of them had a title card and a little intro, and they had credits at the end. It said, here's the people who did lighting, here's who produced it. So unusual.
Well, you know what happened, though? Someone later on to distribute them at the record company decided that the titles were kind of ugly. So they took all the titles off.
Oh, man. They're great.
They didn't want people credited.
Right. Of course. Right. And that became the standard. Like you just didn't know who did what. And even I remember early MTV would say who directed it, and after a few years, they took the director's name off of the videos they were showing. So the MX80 Sound video is them. Well, it starts, it's great because they're just standing around smoking a joint, passing it back and forth with each other.
Well, MX80 Sound was a difficult one for me because I came, I meet the band and I say, okay, what do you guys want to do? I have a few ideas. You got any ideas yourselves? And all they could agree on was setting up their instruments. Go, that's it? You just want setting up? Is that it? And they said, well, because they were arguing and they couldn't agree on anything but setting up their instruments. Okay, that's what we'll do the video of. So I built a set for like a garage, and we shot them.
Oh my God! So you built the set with the lights?
I built all the sets.
That is amazing. So you watch this stuff, and I will put links to these films in the show notes for everyone.
Well, you get them for me though, because I'll get you the good ones.
Absolutely.
I'll get you the ones that are restored.
Yes. No. I'm saying we'll do it right. But it's like I was like, where is he finding these locations? with this weird tunnel
I
bunker.
find the locations in my head. I build
Oh my
them.
gosh, because I was like, part of it is filmed shooting up with reflections, but sometimes the reflections look like they're like stretched, and they have a ripple in them. Others seem like hard mirrors. They get down to the end, and yeah, it was so simple. So for me, I could imagine that being frustrating with the limitations of a band being like, well, we just want to do this. But as a kid, I was like, oh, wow, like a band can make a simple statement of like, we're just repetitively walking down this thing. And you do these lovely dolly shots when they're actually setting it up with the passage of time. I think it's a really beautiful video considering, but so much of it is I'm blown away that you built that was a set instead of like you finding a weird
all sets.
Wow.
All sets.
Wow.
Yeah. And we had some in storage somewhere, some giant Mylar mirrors. So they went up on the top. And the one thing that I'm really proud of is the thing where they're singing. They've got the light. They're holding the light,
Yes.
the work light
Right.
that they're. And David Lynch was to steal that and use that in Blue Velvet.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Where it's just like a caged light. Then oh my God.
The work light. Yeah.
I also want to talk to you. Well, I'm just, obviously the listeners can tell I'm very excited. But the Jinx video was also really important to me because I felt like next to the Residents, well, and Renaldo and the Loaf, obviously, Tuxedomoon were like theater of the mind band more than like MX80 sound for me. And I know they came from like the Angels of Light. Some of the people came from that scene, post Cockettes. So, and
Cockettes. Love the Cockettes.
Oh yeah, I had David Weissman on the show who did the film.
Oh, I loved them. I used to go see them every time they played.
Yeah, so I feel like the Jinx video, like working with Winston Tong and those people, I'm sure they had lots of ideas, but how did that collaboration go? Or were you like, this is what I want to do?
That was all my idea. And they just sat back and I just said, okay, you're going to go here and you're going to do this. Yeah, they didn't know. They had no idea. And what was funny about that one, because I don't know, I work, with the devils in my own mind sometimes to come up with the concepts. So I had the guys in a confined space, and the theme was compulsive cleanliness.
Right.
And somebody that's got OC, whatever the compulsion to clean is, and then there's somebody always dirtying it up. So and the whole toilet seat.
With the toothbrush,
blame,
and brilliant,
and all that. That just came to me. But what was funny was, right about that time, the video got banned in England.
What?
Because right at the time they were having the strife with the Irish, and there was the guys that they had put in prison, the Irish rebels. One of the guys was on a hunger strike, and what he did was he smeared his cell with shit.
Okay.
And they said that this video was a veiled endorsement of the IRA's smearing the cell with shit.
Wow.
And I said, you're out of your mind, because where the whole idea came from, and I would tell everyone, well, that was just dirt. But actually, when I was 2 years old, I got pissed at my mom and I smeared shit all over the walls.
Yes, there you go, everyone. yes, that's awesome. Yeah, you gotta use what you know from life.
Yeah,
I love the credits because it made it feel like a film.
It was a film. It was absolutely a film. And in fact, when I was making them, there weren't any videos. I was making short music films, and then Nightline caught on, and then after that MTV, and so I went down to LA and transferred them to video, and they became videos. Before
Night Flight and MTV, though, there's a good gap of 4 years where was this just being played in the void? Would you have screenings? What was happening?
We'd play them anywhere we could. We distributed them through a co-op called Canyon Cinema. And that was a co-op, San Francisco 16 millimeter film distribution place. And college campuses and anybody that would pay whatever it was a $10 rental, they could show the films.
One of the other things I really love, and let's say, for instance, the 1 minute movie, the 4 films, which I know you shot 2 of and the resident shot 2 of, Moisture, which is like full on sci-fi horror with like a calypso beat. It only has 6 edits in it. It's like really long zoom into the mysterious figure on this bed with the lights hitting him behind it. But one of the things I really loved in the stuff you did with them in 1 minute movies was, I could imagine you when you're editing it, deciding what you wanted to put in. And in both Simple Song and Moisture, the residents always look a little like off the tempo, like they're not, it's like a little, even the reveal at the end of Moisture, where it shows them silhouette from behind, it looks like one of them has just like put down their coffee and then stood up and started dancing. And those are the kind of choices when I started making music videos that I went for too. I like the things that weren't on the beat. I like the things that were a little like that weird movement is giving a little bit of mystery.
Well, and it also sets up tension because your mind wants everything to be synchronized. And when it's not synchronized, all of a sudden your mind is like going into alarm mode deep down. You're going, that's not right. It's not right. How
did you do the day glow effect in Simple Song?
Oh, that was a good one. And I don't think it's ever been done before. You remember those glow sticks and you they were plastic and you'd break them and they'd glow? You ever see those? Well, absolutely. I got about 100 of them and then cut them open and poured the liquid into one. And they have inside the plastic part, there's a liquid, and then floating in that liquid is a little glass tube with another liquid in it. So I carefully took the glass tubes out and got the 2 liquids separated, then mixed them all, had the guys lay down with cheesecloth all over them.
Oh, that's what it
is. In a dark on the stage that was darkened, and then just painted them with the glowing glow stick juice.
This stuff was going right into my brain so quickly. And I remember one time, this was the age, I was in 7th grade. I was running home to watch MTV a few years later, maybe a year later, 82 or whenever it first came on. And I remember I turned it on and I saw half of the Man in the Dark sedan, like the last half, where it's like, and they're dancing. And I'm like, and I pushed down my top loader VHS tape that my dad had, record. So for years, I only saw the last half of it. But it is amazing. MTV was like, yeah, Snakefinger. And then we'll play REO Speedwagon. Like these films were being in rotation. It's incredible.
Yeah. So the Snakefinger movie, I was watching every Sunday. I'd go to see a Hindi movie because in San Francisco at the time and Oakland, every Sunday there'd be an Indian film. And I'm a big lover of Indian films, and they always have song and dance numbers. So that was that was the inspiration for the dancing in Snakefinger's Man in the Dark sedan.
Right. So where were you getting all your extras? Like there's like 30 people pulling cars.
Oh, that's a good story. Okay, so that came out of the Dyke Bar too, and it was a friend I met there, and she Virginia Lombard, and she had a line on weird people. So she set out her casting net, and of course nobody got paid. But I did have a really good costumer, and so we costumed him up really nicely. I'd gotten a car from a used car salesman lot in San Francisco, and I made a deal with him. I said, okay, I want to buy this old Rambler, but I want you to take the engine out. I need brakes in it, but you take the engine out. I'll pay you a couple $100 and then I'll bring it back to you and you can have it back for free because you're going to scrap it. He goes, okay. Wow. So we brought it to the warehouse and we started cutting it and dollying it all up to make it look real pretty. And So and my friend Virginia Lombard was out casting these people, and she got a real assortment of people. I got to tell you, there's one guy in there, Ralphino, and he was one of the pullers. There was a hierarchy in this medieval video
Right.
world of the medieval. Snakefinger was at the top. His three musicians were the lieutenants riding in the car with him. Then there were the enforcers that were following along, and they were prodding the people that were pulling the car. Those were the low people, right?
Right.
So one of the low people, Ralphino, about 2 or 3 months after we finished shooting, he doused himself with gasoline, set himself on fire.
Oh my God, it's horrible. Wow. And he was just a figure in town then. He was just like,
He was a little bit troubled.
right. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Bill Owens is in that with the costume and the snake stuff.
Yeah, he's a snake dancer.
And we're going to talk about him in the next thing, Renaldo and the Loaf's songs for Swinging Larvae, which is a complete masterwork, 6-minute piece of film making. Where did you meet Bill?
At the bar at the Wild Side West. He was my best buddy.
Wow.
I had to be in there every night until closing time with him, just hanging out and talking and shooting the shit and making fun of people. And
he's so charismatic and he's such a natural.
yeah,
but
he was an extrovert.
Yeah, okay.
And that's where I met the little kid in Renaldo. I'd seen his father in the bar, and I saw the kid, and I go, that kid can act.
Wow.
He's only 2 years old, but you can see in people. And my friend Bill, we're real close, and he'd been living in Gilroy and had been a nurse, and he moved up and was living in San Francisco.
Yeah, such an expressive face with those big eyes, and
Yeah.
again, one of those faces. I mean, obviously, like in the Renaldo and the Loaf video, he's really manic, but in some of the other stuff, it's just he can just do nothing, and you just read into his face. He's really great at it. So Renaldo and the Loaf song for Swinging Larvae is so much longer than what you'd worked on before, except maybe Vileness Fats. Do you tightly storyboard something like that? Like, because there's like 3 or 4 sections in this piece of work.
Well, there are 3 or 4 sections because, they had this band and they had their music. And the good news was the band was in England and they couldn't afford to come over. So the band had no input.
Totally.
So I was left to my own devices.
Yeah.
And right about that time, there was an article in a newspaper about Kenneth Parnell, who had gotten arrested for kidnapping Timothy White. And he had changed his appearance. And they caught him, and it was splashed across the San Francisco Chronicle. I mean, it was like big news.
Sure.
And so I walked in with the Chronicle, and Jay Clem was the business manager at Crypto Corporation.
Yes.
And I slapped the Chronicle down, and I said, "This is going to be Renaldo and Loaf's video." And he looked at it and goes, "What?"
Yeah, were the Crypto Corporation just like, whatever you want? Or was there like pushback ever?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Whatever I want, it
Yeah.
didn't, whatever. I mean,
Go for it.
oh yeah. Oh, why Renaldo? Why songs for Swinging Larvae was so long? Was that I had the album, was listening to it, and I go, well, wait a minute. These 3 pieces, if they're connected together, they make a beginning, middle, and end.
Wow.
So I started out, and that was the bed that I started out with, and from that, I took the story of the child kidnapping, and found the kid, and got Bill to do it, and shot it. Now, Bill didn't want to do it. He had been in all my other videos. He loved being a star. But this one, he didn't want it because people were going to call him a pervert,
right,
and a child molester if he started this
right.
one. And he refused. And I was going to shoot in 2 days. And he just said, "Graeme, I can't do it. I can't do it." But I begged and begged and begged and begged and begged. And he finally relented.
It is so intense. Still, all these decades later, it is a film that definitely is pushing in a way that like music videos and films were not. And the set, the black and white set with all the red liquid throughout the house as the mother is making the stuff and ignoring her child. The frustration of that child, like throwing a toy at his mom. That kid is brilliant. Like, it is so genuine. Like the way I don't know how you did that.
Well, it was because he was not too happy during all the filming,
Yeah,
so
I can imagine.
I kept it on film. But the thing is, he was becoming an actor. For him was a brutal process because he was asleep in a van and he woke up in the north part of the Bay Area in San Francisco Bay in a desolated area. And there was this guy, me, saying, put these shoes on, put these clothes on. We're going to go outside and play.
Right.
Yeah. So he kind of liked that because he got to run around. But then when it came to actual, it's working as an actor in a studio is hard work. And so a few times he didn't, but after it was over, for the next few years, his dad told me he kept trying to put those little shoes on because he wanted to, and he ended up going to college to study acting. It made this huge impact on him.
That's incredible.
And of course, his dad was one of the people from the bar, and the dad was so proud of his son that he asked for a film print, and I gave him a film print, and then he stole a projector from the kid's school so he could show all his friends.
That's so great. Well, even things like when you have like the window that is being broken into with arms into the kitchen and pulling the child through it, was that like, I have one chance to get this shot, or did you have other setups like we can, because that's a really beautiful piece of work right there.
One shot. Actually, I reshot it because there was a lens problem.
Okay.
And we did a second reshoot on that scene, but I ended up using the original. And if you look carefully, you'll see the lens problem. The only problem, I'm probably the only person to see it.
I've never seen that. Okay, no.
Yeah. So no, there was one take and one camera, and I was shooting it, and I built the sets, and I figured out how to make the blood red stuff, and then the other one, his lair where he keeps the kid and he changes the kid's hair, and that was all from the actual crime. That set was a copy from a Hindi film.
Did you make that animal puppet with the oh my god, it's so
that beautiful. I looked out my neighbor's, I looked out my window, and it was raining in the neighbor's yard. She had an old fur coat that she'd thrown out there, and I said, hey, can I have that? And she said, yeah, sure.
Yeah, the teeth on it are just,
I still got it.
Incredible. Yeah. And again, so you're hearing these three songs, you're putting them together, and then you're like writing a movie in your head. Like, okay, well, this is about this story, about this abduction, but at this point, there's going to be kind of a dream sequence with the puppet. How did you get from like your head to the camera with something like this?
I never wrote anything. I didn't start actually writing until I got a computer and I could write without having to use when I finally got spell check. I just thought I had it all in my mind.
Wow.
I had all the shots in my mind, and then some came to me as I was doing it, but it was all in my mind.
And you would edit on a 16 flatbed, or what were you using?
Oh, no, flatbed.
Moviola?
Oh, please, no. It's just a moviola. Okay. It was like, oh my God. And film editing is a bitch, and most people have never done it, but you lose a frame.
Yes.
And it's on the floor somewhere.
Yes.
And there's all these other frames. It's the most confounding thing.
Oh, it's so weird. You have to do like all of the cross dissolves in your head.
Yeah. Well, they're all in the head. I don't see them until they get printed. Yeah.
Bill also appears in the 45 Gray video, Party Time.
He does.
Yes. And I had not seen that till recently because Paul Rossler came on the show from 45 Grave and the Screamers.
Oh.
We were talking about, the residents and stuff. And he's like, have you seen Party Time? Because so that there's like Super 8 film footage in it. And then again, you've built a set that's really weird where like a little kid comes in and Dinah Cancer is in a bridal dress, but there's an old man waving and there's a TV set built in.
Yeah, that was all from it went from a satanic child's birthday party, and I got a good story about that, to what I kind of envisioned as a hellish children's TV show.
Okay.
So the old man was like kind of like Captain Kangaroo going, "Hi, kids." So shooting the party was funny because, and this kind of tells you what a horrible person I am. We got, no one ever got paid, so we got all these kids over to play the kids in the birthday party,
Right.
For the Super 8 stuff, and I had all these boxes wrapped up like presents, and I told the kids that because they saw all the presents, I go, "Oh, look at all those presents." I said, "Okay, after we're finished filming, everybody gets a present. I promise." And so we finished filming. They all ran to get their presents. They opened them up, and there was nothing in there because they're all pops.
Oh my God, crap! That is.
It was a valuable lesson.
Oh my gosh, yes. And those kids did not become film directors. they did a little different story. So
Yeah.
was there a point where you're just like, I've done enough with Ralph. Was it just like both parties were like, cool? Or, I mean, I know that they were also really starting to struggle financially because they had extended themselves too much.
Yeah, they extended themselves too much, and they after Renaldo and the Loaf, they didn't want to do any more videos.
Okay. Wow, what a shame. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like when they made the turn into their video art, I just wasn't as interested. It wasn't
not the same.
No, it wasn't my thing, and I had Jerry Casali of Devo on, who normally, worked with Chuck Statler, who, was another hero of mine. Both of them collaborated a lot. So I was so amazed to see Devo hire you to do Are You Experienced? Because I always felt like Jerry is just so particular about concept, vision, edit.
Well, it was his. I acted kind of like as a ghost director, producer.
Okay, why did they not want to do it this time around then?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't know how. Maybe they didn't know
It's
how.
so weird because you're one of the.
I don't know.
You're one of the few people that made a video for Devo that wasn't them. What was that? Was that a good experience? Did you enjoy doing Are You Experienced?
It was interesting. It was interesting. I went down to Texas with Jerry, and we're looking for a studio down there, and it's interesting to see the people that were drawn to Devo, and
Yeah, because they're also at a difficult point in their career with this album. It was a real make or break for them, and they were kind of like, we've always done well with covers. Let's do a cover.
It didn't work.
There's some things I do love about the video. The hydraulics, that Mark and the band, or that's just like his muscles are, just fluctuating and shrinking. And I thought, I was like, oh, that's so Devo. That's so great. With his Pageboy cut.
Well, there's supposed to be a film restoration of that too. The same guy that did the Ralph stuff got a hold of. I've been working with. Got a hold of the camera raw for the Devo video.
Yeah, they put it online a couple weeks ago, and so it has been restored. So at this point, you are like a music video director for hire, pretty much. That's your yeah. And are the budgets going up on things like Sparks and Oingo Boingo and stuff like that? Or
they sure went up from the residents because there was no money there.
Right.
Yeah, they went up. Yeah, there's enough for me to pay my rent.
Since you were working with different labels and different people, was it a harder conversation? Did you feel like labels or A&R people were getting involved, or were you mostly working with people who were like still controlling the vision and wanting you to do what you want?
Pretty much it did what I wanted.
Right.
There was different A&R people. Some I liked better than others. Some musicians I like better than others.
And the Sparks one, did you make the miniatures in the Cool Places video?
Yeah, and that was shot in the old Ralph. They had already vacated the old 444 Grove studio, and I snuck back in
Wow.
and built the miniatures for that to shoot there.
Wow, Graham, this is amazing because that again, I'm just like I'm realizing how much
There's a funny story about that too. 'Cause I made it like a little dollhouses,
right.
and I got magazines, and it was the dollhouses were made out of wrapping paper and just photos I'd found in old magazines and stuff like that. And I came across a picture of Mary Jo Kopechne, so I put that up on the wall, and hadn't thought anything about it. And about 5 years later, I get a call from a reporter from the New York Times or Washington. I think it was Washington Post.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "I'd just like to talk to you about your video you did for Sparks, Cool Places." And I go, "Yeah." And she said, that was Mary Jo Kopechne on the wall there. Are you a Republican?" And I said, "I'm nothing, I didn't know who you're talking about. What?" And she
What a
just kept
story. What a
grilling me and
scoop.
grilling me. And I said, "Lady, I just took pictures out of a magazine and pasted them on the wall. I don't
Wow.
know I know nothing. I know nothing."
5 years later after the fact, I love it. They're like, slow news day. Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
did you see that? Like
yeah.
the Sparks band is really, it's what are they? The things you made just have so much work in them. The Red Hot Chili Peppers video, True Men Don't Kill Coyotes, with, them popping out of the sand and the painted backdrop and the farmyard and, Oingo Boingo with all the religious people and the prison set and stuff. I'm just realizing, like, you did not like to take the easy way out when you made stuff.
Well, I every once in a while watch MTV, and I kept saying, it's really stupid. I mean, because it had the high heel shot, and then it had the shot of the strumming of a guitar,
Right.
and then somebody singing, and I told everybody right off the bat when MTV started, and I saw that pukey stuff. I said, MTV's not long for this world. They're going to lose their audience because it's just too boring.
Yeah, it lost me really quickly
Yeah.
because they were scrambling for content. So you had a lot of stiff records, 16 millimeter films. You had the Ralph Records stuff. It was just like, Blotto, whatever they could get. They were like, we need to fill 24 hours, and not enough people had made them yet. And that was so exciting and informative to me because as a kid in the suburbs, I was like getting fed like weirdo stuff. Night Flight was starting to move into like showing like Ubu Noir films and like things like that,
You know what that was like? That was like when TV first came on, and they didn't have anything to put on the station, so they were running old silent movies.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't have anything, so it was just like it was a wild open space. But after a while, it just became marketing.
Right. Yeah.
And that's boring.
Yeah, totally. So I have a funny story. I had friends that worked at Dark Horse Comics.
Uh-huh.
So I got to see a sneak preview of Dr. Giggles with the Dark Horse staff in Milwaukee, Oregon, which is where their offices were.
Uh-huh.
And we had so much fun. I just remember like I was excited because I'm seeing I've never seen a premiere before, right? And it was just like 40 of us in a giant movie theater. But had you been writing screenplays up to that point, or was this one for hire?
That was my second screenplay.
Okay.
And it was the second one that got made. If I write them, they get made. I don't know why. But, yeah, so that was the second. That was my second. But it wasn't what they ended up with is nothing like the screenplay.
Oh, I'm sure, because I remember it feeling like it felt like it pulled its punches a bit,
It's all generic garbage.
Yeah.
What made, I don't want to speak badly of it, but I ended up shooting the original script.
What?
And that's a movie called Deadly End.
I had no idea.
Years later, I was able to get a hold of the original script, and
Wow.
Yeah.
And I can watch this. Like, we can see this.
Deadly End. I don't know where you're going to find it, but yeah, it stars Nick Searcy, big old Nick Searcy, good friend of mine.
And was it like distributed through video? Like you could get it on VHS or DVD or?
Yeah, it was out. I forget who was. It was on Netflix. I mean, when Netflix was delivering.
Oh my gosh, I know what I'm doing tonight. So was that kind of vindicating to do that? To just be like, all right, I finally get to make it how I want.
Well, yeah, but it was still. It had problems too, and very low budget, and had some disagreements along the way. But it was much more because basically the Dr. Giggles, they kept the characters and they paid me enough so I could buy a house, and that's it. Everything I wrote, somebody took away,
Right.
And it was just, it's too easy. It's too easy to grab the written word and sell it and make it into something else, and easy to do.
Wow. So are you mostly concentrating on still photography right now?
I take pictures. I try to stay out of trouble. I do whatever my parole officer advises me to do.
Well, coming on this show, you're in trouble because this has been a long con.
Yeah, well,
I wanted to tell you this.
My ankle monitor has been going off all through this interview.
The police came to me when I was 13 and they said, we saw you watch this thing. They were watching through the window. They're like, okay, here's the deal. In 40 plus years, you're going to have something called a podcast, and you're going to talk to this guy, and we're going to bust him. So, I'm just giving you a head start.
That's the way they do. That's the way the CIA does it. It's all CIA.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one other little story. I was in Brussels doing a premiere for Deadly End. Deadly End was fun. It's a fun one to go to the premieres on because always somebody passed out or had a seizure.
Because of the violence in it, or
just because it made them think things.
Okay, wow.
It made them think things that they didn't want to be thinking. So, but violence that's nothing.
Right.
Thoughts are much more unsettling and disturbing and terrifying. But
you're absolutely right.
I was doing the film festival circuit, and a couple of times people came up to me and they said, "I got to tell you this. When I was a little kid, I saw your videos and they gave me the worst nightmares, and I still have nightmares."
Wow.
And I said, "Well, thank you for telling me. That's what I was supposed to do."
Oh my gosh. See, for me, I had the best dreams because of it. But I was a kid that was also like doing really poorly in school because I was listening to Desire by Tuxedomoon while trying to study and do my homework. And it was like, but I was like listening to the music more than I was concentrating on my work.
School's kind of boring, too.
So I will say, when I started making music videos and, working at Media Arts Center, you're seeing these films really did a number on me in the best possible way. I know they're nightmarish, but to me, and I'm not like denying it, but to me, I just thought they were so exciting because it was my favorite things were things where I was like, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you could think like that. I didn't know. And even right now in our conversation, me realizing, holy shit, you built that. That is me still like being a kid and having something that just, visually resonated with me, almost more than the music did.
Well, anything really good brings one back to that kid state and that kid kind of consciousness. And a good movie it's all should be like a dream, and it should affect you like a dream.
Graeme, I'm so excited to have met you. You can tell, you can see the smile on my face. Has been brilliant. Again, thank you for all your time and getting in my head, bad dreams or not. Thank you.
Well, I enjoyed my spell in your head.
That's good. Well, it ain't over yet. So at the end of every episode, I ask the same question, but I tailor it depending on what we're talking about. So on a scale of smashing one Bolex camera onto a table in a Dyke bar being the lowest to 12 cameras being smashed in the street, What do you give the body of work and your career in the film and music world, with the low being 1 smashed Bullocks camera in the bar to 12 smashed Bullocks out in the street?
I won't do that because that's too much like a psychological test. It's kind of like a Rorschach test, and that kind of information I don't give out freely. You understand that? That's on a need-to-know basis, young man.
Well, I'm putting it on my forehead. The right answer is 12. As you can see, it's been written on my forehead. It is 12 smash things. No, obviously. Again, Graeme, honor. Thank you so much. And yeah, keep at it, please.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for listening to Revolutions Per Movie. We release new episodes every Thursday on your favorite podcast app and additional bonus episodes every Sunday on our Patreon. The show is a completely independent affair, so the best way to support the show is through our Patreon at patreon.com/revolutionspermovie, where you can get weekly bonus episodes and shows, exclusive limited edition flexi discs and records and CDs featuring guests that have appeared on the show, and other exclusive goods sent to you just for joining. You can follow us on social media at Revolutions Per Movie and also find out more information about our various guests in the episode show notes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Bye.